2764. I do recognize Chairman Fillingane to present that to the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 2764 seeks to correct a problem that I know I've run into when closing loans back home in my title practice, and maybe some of your other title attorneys have come across this. When you're dealing with mobile homes or manufactured housing, for homes that were created or manufactured prior to 2000, there was no requirement in the law for a title to be created for that home. So as you all know, nowadays, mobile homes are titled just like vehicles are. So there's a paper title that shows the evidence of ownership of that particular home. But before 2000, those were not created. And yet a couple of years ago, most of y'all remember, we created this affixation law to where if you're a lender and you wanted to loan money to someone to purchase a home and or a piece of property, you used to have to consider the mobile home just personal property, and then the land itself, of course, real estate property that would be a part of the loan. So in an effort to allow you to create a single unit between the manufactured home and the land, we created this affixation process, and we laid out in the law what all steps you must take in order to accomplish that. And that's worked really well. I've closed quite a number of homes in that manner, but I have run upon, and I don't know if the other title attorneys here at the table maybe have had this experience, these older mobile homes, which are still around, they're still in circulation, not always being occupied necessarily, but when a person goes to sell, you know, the 20-acre, 40-acre tract, and there's this older mobile home sitting somewhere on it, they want to sell it as well. And so then the title insurance companies want oftentimes the endorsement, like the title Alta endorsements that go along with that, and they require this affixation process to be followed. So then what happens is in that application, you're supposed to retire the title, but on these homes that were created prior to 2000, there is no title in which to submit to the DOR to retire. And so I beat my head against the wall and numerous times back and forth and back and forth. And they say, well, in lieu of the title, why don't you present a bill of sale? Well, if the home was sold back 20 years ago, chances are, if there ever was a bill of sale, it is no longer with the current owner, which may be 2 or 3 owners downstream anyway. So in an effort, all that background noise to tell you the reason for this bill, in an effort to try to fix the problem to where you can move forward with the affixation process on these older mobile homes that were created prior to 2000, we got with some title insurance attorneys, and they came up with this alternative version. Now, if you still want to go through the old version, the 4-year-old version, you can certainly do that. But if you know in advance that it's an older mobile home and you're going to have problems meeting all the requirements, in lieu of that, you can now, if you look over, I think it's on page. I think it's section 22. You flip over to section 22, the underlined version here now. On my page, it's page 27 of the bill. All this new underlined stuff talks about the affidavit of ownership, and this could be filled out, signed, notarized, and sent in place of the title that doesn't exist. That's what the bill does.
All right, you've heard the explanation of the bill, and I think Senator Barnett's got something.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Fillingane.
Yes, sir.
I know there's something that you've talked about for not just in this session, but other sessions as well. So, Mr. Chairman, I have a motion at the proper time.
Any other questions before we bring the motion? Motion from Senator Barnett.
Title sufficient do pass.
Title sufficient do pass. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition on that one? None. Okay, the next bill.
Thank y'all.
I appreciate you, Senator Fillingane. The next bill up on this is a cleanup bill, is what it's being brought to me on. This bill is Senate Bill 2776. Anytime we start messing with something called eminent possession, eminent domain and immediate possession, it concerns me. This bill actually is tied, though, to an economic development project. If you go read this bill, you're going to see that it references a section that is not officially in your code. It's because it was from the economic development project that was just passed in extraordinary session in 2024. So if you go and pull that bill, you'll see it's going to be a subsection 7 in there and an A. And that references the most recent economic development project. We do have an individual from that project here that can give some additional testimony on this. And this is Senator Michelle's bill. But the reasoning is that this didn't get in there for water, sewer, and highways. I will tell you that I am the biggest proponent of being careful with this language. I also want to say that right now, I do believe this probably was supposed to be in that project bill to allow for the purposes of wastewater and transportation needs out there. I do want to recognize Mr. Thompson back there and let him or his client, whoever it may be, tell us where this is located and whether there are any residences in this piece of property or on this piece of property. So you're recognized to come bring that up, and we're quickly, because we do have a meeting at 3. Mr. Thompson, you can just grab one of those mics right there on that side, and that's the time. Just briefly tell us, do we have any residences on this property?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Chris Pace with the Jones Walker Law Firm.
Okay.
And if it's all right with the chairman.
Please share it with us.
Certainly. In terms of the property where the proposed quick take process would take place, there are not residences. Principally, one of the goals here, a couple of the properties that are in the path of where a new wastewater line needs to go, just outside of the existing public right of way. Of course, this will be buried underground, so it's an underground sewer line easement. The properties are large tracts that are in a conservation easement. The landowners, under the terms of that conservation easement, are prohibited from selling property.
Okay.
They have to keep the conservation easement. That does not prevent property, easements, rights of way, what have you, from being taken through a condemnation proceeding.
Okay. All right. So then I'm going to open this up for questions from any of the members here, because they may have specific questions. So Senator Branning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Talk to us about these landowners. Are they in agreement with the process and what's taking place?
They have mounted, to my knowledge, they have not had any challenge whatsoever. They're just prohibited under the terms of their conservation easement from entering into a sales agreement.
And all you need from them, and correct me if I'm wrong, all you need from them is an easement for utilities. It is not a fee simple ownership of any of their land. Is that correct?
Correct. And that's the case. The bill was written as to be limited to easements, rights of way solely for public infrastructure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Hobson, any questions from you? Senator Kirby, Senator Barnett?
Yes, sir, I have a question. It said that for the project, a major project, but where is the language in this piece of legislation that only ties it to the project that we're talking about and no other properties anywhere else in the state?
I can answer that one. If you actually go into the language at the back, you'll see where it references section 5775, 37.7 II. That does not exist in your 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23 code, but it is there from our extraordinary session. So if you go to the back there, you'll see line 78. That's where it's listed. And this is the language that is in your extraordinary session bill that was passed on this floor recently. So that's why it's tied to this piece of language right here that we actually passed.
And this makes it only specific to the area that we're talking about?
I will say yes, Mr. Pace. What do you say?
The definition of public agency as defined in 5775, 37.7A, Romanet 2, it's Madison County, it's the Madison County Wastewater Authority, it's the Madison County Economic Development Authority, it's Kent Municipal Utilities. They are all Madison County public agencies. And the rest of the proposed bill limits actions by those public agencies solely with respect to public infrastructure improvements, easements, rights of way for water, sewer, roads.
Well, I think his question is, does this tie it directly to this project or does it extend it any further?
it ties it directly to this project.
And that
No
is
other-
only
And-
this
and-
project.
And only to this project.
All right,
Okay,
All
thank you, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. No other questions? Do I hear a motion? Title sufficient do pass is your motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Do I have another motion? Rise and report. Thank you so much. Your full committee will meet at 3.